Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
But I know how to do that. I know when to go live. Hi there, folks. This is Christian Basil. Welcome to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. It looks like Radio Times has put out another poll about their favorite doctors. So I guess it's time that we talked about it. Let's get it started. My name is Christian Basil. Years ago, I had an idea. I got myself a TARDIS. Took it to new places, met a lot of new people, took some great pictures, and talked Doctor Who. From Krypton Radio and the creators of the Hanging With web show, this is the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Join me on my latest adventures and become part of the legend. Hello, fellow Whovians. Welcome to another edition of the Legend of Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil. I am here with two lovely people today.
Wow,
and
lovely. I'm impressed.
You're a lovely person today there. We are going to be discussing, first of all, if you're a Whovian, the only reason why you wouldn't know about this is you live under a proverbial astral rock somewhere. What is it where the Sixth Doctor was going to exile himself in that first episode? I forgot. The Titan Moon or whatever? I forgot. I don't remember you. It's okay. It's been that kind of morning today there, folks. We're going to be talking about the Radio Times poll that just came out 2020. Who became everybody's favorite doctor? Who became everybody's least favorite doctor? We're going to be going over that. But first, I want to introduce my team, and we have a special announcement I have been waiting all month for, and I love to. I'm so glad that we're going to be announcing this. We've been waiting for this. A very special episode that will be taking place October the 27th. First of all, we're going to introduce the lovely Melanie Dean. How you doing there, Melanie?
Doing very well. Hope everybody else is doing just as well and peachy and good and being safe and happy. And on this, well, if you're watching live, it's a Friday afternoon, so you're probably going, "Wait, what? Why are they here now? That's odd." Well, sometimes when we decide we can get together and start chit-chatting, let's do this.
It's one of those things where, especially when the Eccleston announcement came out on Big Finish, we're like, we got to talk about this.
We need to do this now. What time is it? I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of which, Mr. Mike Faber with
Hey, everybody.
With the ESO Network. Just a little bit for those who may be just joining us for the very first time. Tell us a little about the ESO Network.
Oh, sure. ESO Network is a totally geeky network full of, right now, 23 shows, soon to be 28. And so we're about to add a boatload of new shows to the network. And I host personally 3 of them. And all the shows can be found up on iTunes, Apple Podcasts now, Stitcher Radio. We're also now part of Amazon. That's right, folks. You can find our podcasts all up on Amazon. So all you have to do is say, "Hey, Alexa, play the ESO Network on Amazon Music." And boom, it does it. So everyone who's listening now is going to be having that playing. Thanks, Alexa.
Did you mean Mike Faber and his friends? Yes.
Exactly. No, Mike Faber and his amazing buddies.
Oh, there we go there. I just said, "Can you play the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS?" And mine goes, "I can't do that, Dave." Something. No, I'm just kidding.
And Christian's going, "But my name's not Dave."
But my name's not Dave.
Exactly. So
open the airlock doors. Al, let's do this. Folks, welcome there. Without further ado, Melanie, should I say the announcement now, or should we wait until the end of the show?
Now, because everyone's kind of
you're just so damn excited. You're just
I am excited. Because we tried to invite them last year, and it was a total conflict, and things didn't happen. And now we've done this year. So everybody, please mark your calendars for a special episode of The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS taking place October the 27th at 6 p.m. We're going to have live on this channel Phantasmagoria, and they will be doing a special Doctor Who episode of their performance. I am very excited about this. I've been waiting for. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Melanie.
I was going to say, for those who are not familiar with Phantasmagoria,
Mm-hmm.
Christian, explain, tell our audience a little bit about them, what they can watch, what's better probably to see more than to listen to the podcast.
I'm going to be honest. It is hard to explain Phantasmagoria. I mean, it's more steampunk horror, but let me do this. If you really want to enjoy Phantasmagoria, let me go ahead and put this in the comments. Put this down here. Because they have different types of shows. One of the things I loved about Phantasmagoria before COVID became a thing was they were actually doing some kind of a maze thing. They were doing some kind of attraction over with gosh, it's been that kind of morning. I'm sorry, Melanie. What? Spooky Empire. Sorry, yeah. Spooky Empire.
It's like Spooky Mayhem.
Yeah, spooky. It is Spooky Empire, which was my my first introduction to Phantasmagoria. I knew they were out there, but it was the first time I interacted with them. And I'll go ahead and put up their Facebook page out there. And it's like, it's hard to explain. It's kind of an experience. It's steampunk meets horror meets a ton of other things, meets Edgar Allan Poe, meets it's just an
performance art.
Their performance art, but they do have a geekdom into like a steampunk type horror vision type. It's just something you want to go to Phantasmagoria Orlando, facebook.com Phantasmagoria Orlando. You can check out their videos. They've been on full power. They've been shelling out videos left and right since the little virus happened out there, and their shows are just brilliant. Unfortunately, I for whatever reason I've been only catching snippets and stuff, but John and the team, they're wonderful, and we're just excited that they're going to be performing a special Doctor Who episode of the Traveling TARDIS. For the Traveling TARDIS of Phantasmagoria. So please check them out if you haven't already. Want to say hello to Carl Witzman, everybody. And I also want to introduce, and we're going to save her for last, we're going to be introducing a new sponsor to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. So
yay!
Thank
you!
They're keeping our lights on, folks.
Yay!
Exactly. So Carl Witzman, yes, Phantasmagoria is awesome. So please do check out their brand there. We'll be introducing our new sponsor in just a moment. For those of you who have been interested in helping produce our show, you can advertise with us. We do have rates right now. And not only that, but the rates do include the entire family of the Hanging with Web show team, including Saturday Morning Cartoons, Kitchen Killers, Pillow Talk with Willow, Reels and Heels,
Back Talk with Bauer.
Life with Thor, Back Talk with Bauer. Yeah, the list goes on and on and on and on. You can actually subscribe to the list, but just write to me or Sage or Christian at Hanging With Show. That's HANGIN with show.com. And definitely, if you want to become a part of the family, we'll welcome you to it, because if you believe in our product, we believe in yours as well. Well, let's get it started, folks. So this is the poll. First of all, I'm going to ask you something before I put this out here. Melanie's got a copy of it.
That's good.
I'm going to start with you, Mike. Before. What do you think about these polls now? What's your take on these radio time polls, or any of these polls that say who's the best doctor at this time? Just a quick synopsis.
This poll actually felt like, to me, it was taken by some 20-year-old or something. It literally felt like, all right, let's ask this question. You have to be the age of 20 or under to, actually, be able to take it, because Tom Baker to be so low, or, before New Who
hang tight, because I'm going to put the poll out there, but I just wanted your take on the generalization of the poll there.
No, the generalization is, it's ridiculous. It's, it's like, yeah, I fully expected Tennant to be up at the top, no matter what the poll is. But It just felt like whoever they tried to have, to take the poll, whoever wrote the poll, the questions, they must have been running around on the street. Oh, wait, you're too old. You can't ask you this question, type thing. And that's what it seemed like to me.
Melanie, what's your take on this?
The poll results kind of had a feeling where I could get the demographic of who answered.
Mm-hmm.
But the cool thing, well, with any poll, grain of salt. Always take a grain of salt. Polls are fun. You never know when, You never know when they posted them. You don't know how long they posted them. You don't know what time rate they posted, if they only posted it to one channel, if they only did it to one social media. And that's the thing with polls and metrics and stats and statistics, is the best way to lie is through statistics.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can change anything I want to make it to fit the narrative that I want to say. So we're going to kind of break this little poll down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's the fun thing with our show is it came out and now we're going to talk about it and give you a little our opinions on maybe little things to help quantify or qualify what they're quantifying in there.
Okay. I'm actually going to put the poll up after our first break just to keep people in suspense. But my take on this is a little bit of Mike, a little bit of Melanie, and this. Here's the question. I don't want to sound too egotistical. Nobody's ever asked me about the poll. I'm like, where did they come from? None of my friends. No, like I wasn't asked. I was like, I think,
well, especially because it was the Radio Times. You're living in the wrong country.
Yeah, but it's like but Doctor Who seems to be everywhere now. It's not just it's a UK thing, a product that belongs to the universe, to the Whoniverse, for a better term. And I know that they're trying to do the local stuff, but it's just like the same thing is just like when I see all those, I don't want to get into politics, but the presidential poll. It's like, okay, well, this person's leading. I'm like, nobody asked me about this, and I would like to think that my message or my take on this kind of counts, but it is what it is. But it used to be for me, Mike. It was kind of cool when it first started. There weren't that many doctors. Now today, I'm just like, I kind of ignore it. I'm just like, where are we going with this? And I'm like, unless you're going to pull the entire Whoniverse from equator to equator, from time zone to time zone, you're just going to be asking a bunch of people locally what they think. And I'm just like, what do they think in the US? What do they think in the UK? What do they think in this country or that country or the some amount of the continent? I mean, it just feels like you're right. It seems like there's a demographic in there that seemed to have been predominant, and the rest of the Whoniverse kind of left out of it there.
Exactly.
So
sorry, you don't count.
It's not that. I think the poll doesn't do itself justice.
Yeah.
It doesn't give itself the means to say, okay, and it doesn't say, okay, is this kind of a fish tank group of people that represent the entire Whoniverse, or is this? And I was looking at this again. I was like, I do have some thoughts as to why people ranked the way they ranked, and I think I have an explanation for each one of them. I just can't accept that people got ranked the way they ranked, and I do have my grievances with it. But Melanie, I'm going to go ahead and start the commercial break. When we return, you got it. When we return, we're going to go ahead and show you the poll. We're going to read off to you for our friends who are listening to us on the audio version. When we return, please continue to stay logged on, tuned in, and continue to stay safe, wash your hands, and become part of the legend.
Bateman.
What's the Bateman?
A novel set in Florida, written by Florida author D.L. Havland. Suspense, mystery, and murder.
Evidence is in the bait.
The Bateman is available at local bookstores and online.
Hi, I'm Claudia Christian with some exciting updates in the Sinclair Method world. First of all, we launched our new coaching page. It's yoursinclairmethod.com, so you can go there and book a session with one of our fabulous coaches. You can also reach that page by visiting c3foundation.org. It's at the top of the landing page of the website. The second piece of news is Journeys is out. Woohoo! This book has been a long time in the making, and it is available in Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your local bookstore, and there's a limited amount of signed copies at c3foundation.org. So get your copy of Journeys now and visit the coaching page for some wonderful support. If you're on the Sinclair Method, you can book a session with a variety of different coaches. Take care and be well.
Deborah Parmley's Jenna's Christmas Wish.
Santa, if there's one thing I want for Christmas more than anything, it's someone to spend Christmas with. Someone who really wants me to be there.
Head to the mountains of East Tennessee with romance author Jenna Hart for a Christmas writer's workshop. Since her mother passed after a long illness, Jenna has had one wish. She doesn't want to spend Christmas alone. Meeting Niccolo Maldini, cover model and actor, could make more than Jenna's Christmas wish come true. Unless Ember, Niccolo's ex-girlfriend, does something crazy to stop them from being together. It's a mountain Christmas romance you won't want to miss in Deborah Parmley's Jenna's Christmas Wish. Now on Amazon.com. Jackie Sonnenberg's My Soul to Keep is a ghost story rooted in the realities of actual cults. When 13-year-old Sky Monroe arrives at her new boarding school, all she can think about is death and connecting with the afterlife. Soon she discovers her school's spirituality group, the Guardians of Light, and they have a secret. They can speak with the dead, and the organization is a cult. But this isn't Sky's only problem. The campus house where Sky resides is haunted, and even the ghosts have an agenda. They intend on getting the souls they want. Filled with mystery and intrigue plucked straight from the headlines, author Jackie Sonnenberg's research and attention to detail give this ghost story an even more eerie atmosphere. Find My Soul to Keep on Amazon.com today.
And if you're watching this on the live feed for the YouTube channel, don't thank us. Thank our friends at geekinsider.com. Join and subscribe at geekinsider.com.
At Geek Insider, we foster relationships with those in the geek sphere so we can give our audience the insider view of entertainment, tech, and more.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil. I'm here with the lovely Melanie Dean. You can check her out, all of her good artistry stuff out behind her if you just want to watch it
All
on the
for
YouTube.
sale.
If you're watching on the YouTube or Facebook channel, all for sale.
Feed me.
And check out her work. She does cake art on her Facebook channel, and we actually share it here if you guys want to check it out. And her Instagram, piecesofmelee.com. Well, Pieces of Melee on the Instagram, sorry, not .com.
Actually,
there should be
there
one
is
there,
a .com. There is a .com. That's where I actually using this very large brick of a printer that was supposed to help me out for con season 2020.
Oh, okay, cool. Nice.
But yeah, you can buy prints on piecesofmelee.com. Also on Etsy, same shop name, piecesofmelee.com. End
Sweet.
plug.
And definitely join our friends over at the ESO Network with Mike Faber. He does. You guys are doing reviews of Classic Who, right?
Oh, yeah. On Earth Station Who, we do it. We also do it on the Watchathon with Rassilon. And we also have a couple bloggers that are going episode by episode also. Earth Station Who, though, jumps around. And we just do, throughout the history and everything. But we also do Big Finish and stuff like that.
Gotcha there. And don't forget, we have live chats throughout this program if you want to join into the chat, talking about the Radio Times Doctor Who poll 2020. Don't forget, you can live chat us just on the Facebook page or the YouTube channel, and it's free. Just jump on in there. Now, without further ado, here it is, and I'm sorry, Mike, we're covering your face.
Not the first time, not the last time.
Sorry there, but we appreciate you being on there, brother, there. So, just in case for the folks who are listening to the audio, here's the actual breakdown of the merits. We're going to start with... I'm sorry,
Mike.
Mike. Move the camera a little there. Should we start from the bottom or go up? Or start from the top? What do you think, Melanie?
Well, let's start with the very top. I mean, we're showing everybody what it is.
Oh, it's doing it for the audio folks. But here we go. The number one Doctor, drum roll, is David Tennant with 10,518. Holding about 21% of the likes, or the votes, should say. Now, not bad at all. Jodie Whittaker holding the second place by what looks like a less than 100 votes, 10,423 at 21% as well.
95 votes. 95 votes.
95 votes.
So really,
the two. Yeah, it's
percentage-wise, they were tied. 21.
There.
They were pretty much tied.
The poll was about maybe 50,000 votes were cast. I do not know if they were individuals or if you had people on multiple IPs clicking in or on the same IP just sitting there going,
Exactly.
I've got a gate voting. So, grain of salt.
This is what I kind of like, holding third place a little bit, not as and pretty strong for third place.
Very strong third place.
Peter Capaldi, 8,897, holding 18% of the votes, followed by Matt Smith, 7,637 of the votes at 16%. And I have a comment. Fifth place is Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor, at 3,977 at 8% of the votes.
That's the big substantial drop. When you go from 1 and 2, you're 21%. Yeah, it's like 21.5 really with
exactly.
David. Then you have an 18%. Then you have 16%. Tom Baker goes to number 5 at the 8th percentile, and then from there it drops again.
Huge drop
to 4. Yeah. So there's a it's damn near double the amount of votes for Matt Smith.
Let me go ahead and read off all the numbers. Let me go ahead and read off all the numbers just for the folks who are on audio. No, you're fine. You're fine. Then we'll break it down out there and there. At 6th place, William Hartnell. I'm not going to say much. 1983, great year, 4%. Paul McGann, 1427, also a great year, 3%. Christopher Eccleston, 1144 at 2%. John Pertwee holds the 9th place at 1,038 at 2%. Patrick Troughton now goes under 1,000 at 915 at 2%. Sylvester McCoy, 462 at 1%. Colin Baker. Now, I will say this. I think this is the first poll I've seen Colin actually get bumped from the bottom.
Yeah, very much so.
Which is... Yay! Exactly. Yay! 12th place at Colin Baker for 359 at 1%. And the one that kind of just throws me off, and we'll explain more about this at a later time. Hello, doggies. Peter Davidson at 351. He takes in the wraps up the poll at 1%. And interesting enough, no war doctor, I thought was no war doctor. So I guess we're doing legit doctors. Not to say John is not a legit doctor. It's just that he's
but I bet you like
10%
that he wasn't probably even on the list. They probably just had like, the probably like radio buttons and just here, pick your favorite doctor. Boom, thank you. And that's what they did. So he probably wasn't even in there.
Of course, I just make it in time for commercial break. Thank you, sponsors.
Dave,
get in here. Dave, get in here. If you can get in here, please get in here. Dave Chapman,
panelist from the Rat Hole, jumping in here. Well, jumping in for commercial breaks.
For commercial breaks, yeah, exactly. There. So, Melanie, now let's break it down. What do you think of the poll in general? Seeing what you see there, let's start with you.
Well, one. Okay, so
in a word,
so from what I'm looking at, I'm seeing a lot more new Who people. So maybe you tend to either have the younger viewers, the viewers who came in. The higher the numbers, the people who are coming in that are like Capaldi, Smith, Tennant, Jody. Yeah. That's usually the people who are coming in at that point, and those are your doctors. Because we've kind of in the whole world of Doctor Who, we always kind of say who is your doctor, and that kind of always correlates to who your first doctor was. So sometimes these may also be people's first doctors, and that's where they kind of voted them, because they're not even just saying who's your favorite. It's the who's yours, kind of the same thing. So you're probably why David's so high, and then you have Jodie because she's current. And then if you kind of look at it, and then it's almost as if you just took all the numbers and just flipped them around. It's you have like there's 13th Doctor, there's the 12th Doctor, there's the 11th Doctor, and you kind of so on and so forth. You usually always get Tom Baker, usually 1 or 2. So it's kind of a what? So seeing so many of the new Who people stacked up at the very top 5 roles, and then more of the classic towards the bottom, it kind of tells me it's more new Who audience than classic Who, or they're thinking Doctor Who not as the whole general kind of deal. The other thing that I was kind of looking at and kind of went is that kind of correlate this is Paul McGann. He got number 7. And if you think about it, Paul really only had 2 things in the world of visual Doctor Who. So why did Paul get 1,400 votes? Was it because people absolutely love the Doctor Who movie and Night of the Doctor? Does it have anything to do with the fact that he, like a lot of the other top 5 people, are very big on the convention scene? Could that be something else? Or are we talking Big Finish? And that's because that's where the 8th Doctor lives. He lives in Big Finish, really. And unless you're a huge fan of the Titan comics as well, maybe. But if that's the case, then you can kind of counterpoint this and go, well, how come Colin and Sylvester, other doctors who are also big and Big Finish are very, very rated below? Maybe that's what's made Colin go up a little higher than Peter this time. Who knows? There's so much stuff that we could kind of pick apart. So that's where there's some of my overlying thoughts. I'll shush so that Mike can bring his up.
No, I'm enjoying listening to you, Melanie. It's okay.
Well,
it's a great
Dave's
thing.
going to be joining us in a minute with a word big fine. So
quick,
Dave,
get up before Dave takes over.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us, Dave.
Bye.
See ya. Have a great episode. That was great.
Be well. Talk to you later. Ciao.
But Cindy kept says polls are amusing, but they're so easy to monkey with. And
Of course.
That's it. Mike, what do you think? What's your take on this poll thing?
Well, it's like I said, I'm in real life, I'm a web designer, and I design forms and I design polls and stuff like that. And if it's an online poll, they probably, put it out on their website. And a lot of times they find that most people ignore polls anyway. So, and that's where, my thinking is, it's a lot of younger people who are doing it and such. And, I was actually surprised that Hartnell was up there so high on this thing.
I know, right? That's a strange one.
Compared to a lot of the others. And it's just like, people were like going, well, he's the first one. Oh, he was in the Christmas special. Oh, that's right. It's like, no, that wasn't.
Okay, yeah, he was in the Christmas special. Just so go with that. Yeah,
but that's what people were thinking probably. And so, it's mostly how they like, who's on my memory the highest, not, and so it also, I was shocked to see that Peter Davison was below Colin Baker, because Colin is usually at the bottom of the list. And Colin's a great guy. Colin is a really wonderful ambassador for Doctor Who. But as far as Doctor Who stories, he's a stinker. He truly, truly is a stinker. And, sorry if anyone's a big fan of Colin's. You're the one. So it's good, so I figured.
The two.
I've always...
Okay. But Mike, I see your point.
But does that make sense?
No. I see your point. But here's the question I would bring to you. Because we have so much content now, because Paul is up there and Colin got finally a boost.
Well,
do you think Big Finish did
you also have to
play
remember
role?
Big Finish does play a big.
That's what I'm saying.
Thing in this.
Could that have been
Christian? I completely agree with that, because Paul is all over Big Finish, but so is Peter and Sylvester and Colin. So Colin is amazing with Big Finish. Those are some of my favorite Big Finish stories. Are Colin Baker stories, but you have, it's interesting to see, before Doctor Who came back in 2005, who was the face of Doctor Who? Tom Baker, and so that's why you usually see Tom Baker in the top 3 with most Doctor Who polls of most popular doctors. Hell, Tom Baker showed up on Futurama. He showed up on The Simpsons, his version of the Doctor. So,
and anybody thinks of the iconic Doctor, his scarf, his hat, his demeanor.
Oh, exactly.
He is the icon of Doctor Who. Not that things have changed over time, but Dave Chapman, we want to welcome you aboard there. Dave, how you doing there with the rathole.ca? Did you see the poll, first of all?
I do, and I have it pulled up on the side of my screen as well. So
got you there. We do have a question from Carl Witzman. You also have to worry about how many of the responders have seen the first 3 Doctors.
Exactly.
Which is a good question.
Which is weird because William Hartnell had number 6. So you have Hartnell over, which was my thing, was how the heck do we have Hartnell over Eccleston?
Right.
It's almost like classic number 1 and New Who number 1 against each other.
I feel
There's no-
sorry
that-
for
that's
him.
the
I'll
thing.
pick
There
the
is
first
no-
Doctor.
I think a lot of people realize that there is a difference
Yeah.
in their heads between the various different versions of the first Doctor.
You know, it pisses me off when I'm at a con or someone refers to Christopher Eccleston as the first Doctor.
Like flying over a pale table.
Exactly. I've actually jumped over tables over that. No.
but also, Mike, I mentioned this beforehand on the previous shows. I can't begrudge him either, because remember, our vision, or at least at the time I was growing up on PBS, that was it. Tom Baker. That's all we knew. He started out robot. He fell from a tower, became blonde, and then they didn't buy the rights for the new showing. So all I knew was Tom Baker. And then when they finally said we're going to have the special, the 5 Doctors, I'm like, what? So he's number 4. How did that happen? So Carl Witzman, Melanie might have something about the convention comment. So yeah, I mean, it depends on who goes to the conventions too. There, Colin is a great guy, but he had bad writing.
Oh, completely. I spit on the graves of Pip and Jane Baker, so it's okay.
God,
Mike not holding back. Woo!
Hey, I'm on my lunch break. I'm allowed to do it.
I mean, I'm gonna be I'm not a big fan of Davidson. I don't like the 5th Doctor.
A lot of people
never
don't, though.
did. And a lot of that does come from, and I'm going to firmly place the blame and solidarity on my father, because a lot of things that he didn't like, and he was the one that lorded over and had the control over the television set with his scepter, the remote. He didn't like Davidson, so then I didn't like Davidson. And the things that he didn't like him about, he was very vocal, and so therefore I became vocal about the same things. Right. Did he shade my opinion? Of course, I was freaking 8.
Yeah. I have other reasons for not liking Peter Davison, so it's okay.
I'm firmly 40, and I've watched those episodes again and went, no, they still, I don't like them.
All right, well, so let's break down the poll, and I'm going to kind of lock in and agree. I will give David Tennant. David Tennant. Wow. Well, it is Peter Davidson, David Tennant, and Georgia Moffat. They've got that kid thing going, so it's it's Tennantson now, or that should be their new kid coming up there.
We do have a commercial break real quick. Sorry,
we do have a commercial break. No worries.
Yeah.
Alrighty, folks, and when we return, we're going to continue to talk about this poll. Please continue talking about it as well as yourselves in live chat, and continue to stay logged on, tuned in, and become part of the legend. Here we go.
Alien invaders enslave Earth,
unleashing hunters into the ruined wastes.
One young survivor struggles to elude their monsters, clinging to hope.
When he's stolen off the planet by a sarcastic starship AI, they pit their uneasy alliance against a treacherous galaxy.
Explore a whole new verse of barbarism and betrayal.
Wonder and adventure.
In the Scion series
by Michael J. Allen.
Beginning with Book 1, Scion Conquered Earth.
Available in print, ebook, and audio on Amazon.com.
Experience Samara's adventure as she imagines the people around her change into friendly cartoon animals right before her eyes. Journey with her in this poetic tale, My Cartoon Imagination at School.
Now on Amazon.com, iCoin from author Jeremy Mosby. It's an alternate reality, and the leader of the planet iCoin is none other than Benjamin Franklin. When corrupt officials threaten not only iCoin but the Earth as well, an unlikely chosen one, Jeremy, must face dark foes to save the Earth and iCoin alike. Author Jeremy Mosby takes readers on a superhero's adventure through this compelling and imaginative alternate universe. Get iCoin on Amazon.com today.
Meet the Doctor.
I'm the Doctor.
But not the one you were expecting.
All right, sexy. It's time to go home.
Doctor Who Velocity. Streaming now.
Don't miss Crystal Moore in the latest episode of Doctor Who Velocity called Tron. And believe it or not, this episode was completely social distancing. It's amazing how she does everything. There is a behind the scenes. So if you go after the show, please, the Facebook page, Doctor Who Velocity, check it out. Subscribe for Crystal. Check all the 5 classic episodes that she's had, and the current one, Tron, which is based upon that. And it's so nice what she's did with the episode. Have you guys seen the Tron episode as of yet? No,
Not yet.
no, that's fine. It just came out, so just check it out. Just go to Doctor Who Velocity. But you're going to be amazed how well they did things, and plus, they social distance the whole time. So, from what I understand, none of the actors were in the same room together, and they put them all in the same room. They look like they've been interacting with one another. So it is really amazing how they did that there. Folks, welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil. We welcome to the program Melanie Dean with Instagram Pieces of Melee. We welcome Dave from therathole.ca. If you got board gaming, this man's not going to board your game. He is going to be telling you about what's out there, what's hot, what's not. Wonderful guy there. And from the ESO Network, we have Mike Faber. Now, back to the poll. We're going to break this down there. So I'm going to say we're locking in. I'm okay and comfortable with that David Tennant takes the first place. Does anybody have any challenge to that?
No.
No.
No? No? Okay, so we're all great. I mean, he's a great actor. He's done so, and I think he also has been doing other projects. He's coming out with a new movie. What was it? Around the World in 80 Days. He's going to be Phineas Fogg. He's consistently always doing something, so I think that might have helped his numbers out there. And plus, he was beloved of the
stage. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm saying stage on Hulu. That's the current thing that him and Michael Sheen just did. When we had Simon Fisher-Becker on, along with I don't know if it was Tim. Was it Tim? But they were talking about stage. It's now on in the US on Hulu. But no, when it comes to David Tennant for a Doctor Who figure, he's doing more Time Lord Victoria stuff now. So he's constantly expanding the breadth of information and stories and all that kind of stuff of the 10th Doctor. So I'm firmly good with number 1.
Well, exactly. And if you think about it, he is the face of New Who all the way and everything. Even though he did it only 3 years, he is the face of Who. When anyone thinks of the new series of Doctor Who, who's the first person they think of? David Tennant. Exactly. And that's the cool thing about him is, he is a geek himself and a fan. And as Peter Davison says, when somebody asked him at a con, what's the strangest things a fan gave you at a con?
Oh, yeah.
And he said, a grandchild.
Yes.
Multiple grandchildren now.
Exactly. Multiple grandchildren.
Goodness. Speaking of multiple grandchildren, let's move to number 2 because there was no segue into this whatsoever. So there we go. Jodie Whittaker. Now, this one I have to concede that this was a poll that was taken by a younger crowd. Because
I think it's current people who are watching it.
It is current. I don't
necessarily mean it's going to be younger. I think it's whoever's watching. I do think that does correlate that the younger crowd is the ones that are currently watching the show, because a lot of those classic, a lot of those tried and true kind of, I love Doctor Who, might also be the same Doctor Who's that aren't exactly on board with the current direction of Doctor Who. So that might I think it kind of parallels a little bit with the younger crowd being current and the older crowd kind of saying rah and telling kids to get off their lawn.
Yeah, exactly. I think she has the because there was one time Sylvester McCoy won a poll against Tom Baker. He just edged out because he was the current Doctor as well. Right. At that time, I think he just managed to edge it out over there. And according to this, David Tennant just kind of squeaked over her just a little bit, who wasn't the current Doctor.
No,
but
exactly.
I hate to say this, I'm not downing Jodie in any regards of fashion. This is just, I guess, what Melanie would call the marketing thing. A lot of the classic people that I associate with, and a lot of people even currently, they're not happy with most seasons, and they are kind of disappointed with the direction the shows come in. I mean, I think we've discussed that everybody here knows somebody who's kind of dropped out because of the series, and it's not Jodie's fault, to tell you the truth. It has nothing to do with Jodie. It's more or less where the direction of the show is going. I think they're taking their hits on Chris Chibnall rather than Jodie. Jodie is doing the best she can with the script that's being written to her. But
agree completely with that, and if you think about it, it's the quality of the stories. It's not the actor who's playing the Doctor. And Jodie is fantastic as the Doctor. I just wish she would get better stories. And some of the stories have been brilliant that she's done. But overall, I'm not naming names, Chris Chibnall, but it's a
lot of this is what your words are the same words that echoed what I had said, and I deeply feel before. If we went, I don't know, 4 years ago, and we were talking about our third person on this list, and it was Capaldi.
Oh, exactly. I agree completely with that.
Give me better stories, Moffat.
I know personally more people that left the series with Capaldi than even with Jodie.
Mm-hmm.
We even lost a co-host on our podcast because he was not happy with where Doctor Who was going, and it was after the first Capaldi season, and he says he just couldn't do it anymore and everything, and it was really sad.
Carl Mitzvin says maybe older people know better not to take the online survey.
I agree, Carl. I agree. It's a trap.
It's a trap. It's a trap.
Oh.
But yeah, I think for me, and I think to tell you the truth, Dave, I think we've been spoiled. Now this is what I'm meaning by this. We've had Douglas Adams, we've had Robert Holmes, we've had Terrence Dicks, we've had all these phenomenally great writers. And to put into hi there, and to put Orphan 55 into that lineup, I can't. To put certain stories like Arachnids in the UK, I can't. I can't put them because we have been, as Whovians, spoiled with some really great sci-fi story writing that when we get to the current series, you want me to take these stories and put them in the same file with this. I can't. There's just no way. Now, some of them do. The Tesla episode, I thought that was phenomenally great. Rosa, I think that was great, minus the bad guy. I think it would have been a wonderful episode had they not had Krasko. I think it just seems like they have some really good gems, and then they go into the turd bin after a while.
And I think this is going to keep happening as you keep going through Doctor Who's Doctors, because let's face it, David Tennant's #1. That's awesome. How many people loved Love and Monsters?
Or how many people loved Daleks in Manhattan? Come on.
Or Fear Her. I mean, you're going to get your good and you're going to get your bad. But overall, hopefully this is not, does that influence the Doctor per se, or the actor who played the Doctor, or their interpretation of the Doctor?
Well, exactly.
Because I'm going to move to.
I'm agreeing with you.
Hindsight. I said hindsight is 2020.
Which
hindsight.
I'm going.
Hindsight in 2020, that doesn't match. No.
Number 3, I think Peter Capaldi, to me, should be higher because I think he aged like fine wine. I think people started respecting him. I think people started going back to the episodes and going like, I really don't. Because when they first saw it, I knew, like you said, Mike, I knew people who left. But I know they came back too. Mm-hmm. And they said, I didn't really give Capaldi the chance he had. And I was like, really, he was a victim of bad writing. What do you think about that, Dave?
I agree. I've said it before because I've done a lot of stuff with the 12th Doctor gaming wise, with the role playing game, and it came down. I went back and watched all of that because there was some space in between, as there always is with Who episodes. And in my head, Capaldi jumps around. The character jumps around a lot. You've got a curmudgeon-y old alien, okay, and eventually you've got this rock and roll guy, and you've got this professor, and there doesn't seem to be any thread. The thread is a little bit more there when you do actually watch it back to back.
All right.
But it's still, his character was all over the place, and it drove me nuts. If you had given me day 1, curmudgeon-y old Doctor with the blackboard and all that, or Professor Doctor at the very end, I would have been thrilled. Capaldi is a brilliant actor. But it was all that in between. Why is he driving a tank with
the guitar?
Yeah.
But that was so awesome. That was playing Pretty Woman. It was just, I loved it.
I think that was finally, because I'm going to say this because you said there were 3 different variations. I would have loved the 12th Doctor and Nardole version to start the series. I think you did. We would probably still be talking about Peter Capaldi. And Carl Witzman's right. Once this email address, they will spam me. Get off my lawn, Radio Time. So I do think it's kind of clickbaitish what they did because everybody, jumps aboard on it. But
when we get down to Christopher Exlin, I want to bring Cindy's comment back up.
That's why I hit it for a second. She's going to come back up because we're talking about it. But I do want to jump down because we're running a little bit on the time. Matt Smith is 4th place. Tom Baker is 5th, and 6th place is William Hartnell. Those three spots, I don't understand.
No,
I don't. I really don't. How Tom has fallen, and
I would have put Matt as number 2, mostly on writing and exposure. Baker is 3 because he is the epitome of that. Everything below that, the only thing that surprises me really is how high Hartnell was, but we've just explained that one away. And Paul McGann.
Yeah.
Because he has almost no exposure.
Yeah.
No,
we were talking about it. Exactly. So the question comes back is if we're talking about that this was done by, quote unquote, millennials, how is Paul McGann pulling up into the 7th place unless he has the Big Finish? And our millennials listening to Big Finish, which would be cool. I mean,
I'm sure they are though.
Exploding out there.
I think conventions does help out when it comes to Doctor Who and everything, and that we live in a world that is with the internet. It's not like the old Mystery Science Theater times of circulating the tapes.
Yeah,
you can go find stuff. So if you go to a panel and you're sitting there and you're listening to Paul McGann and you're like, wow, I really dig this guy. He was what, the 8th Doctor? All right, well, let me go find out where I can find that. And you click through one of your streaming services, find it, and realize, oh wow, I really like it. And then here we are. That's one thing about the poll is I find it kind of refreshing that it's not the same poll that we always see. It's not the stack that I'm always seeing. Okay, we have a new Doctor Who poll. All right, so is it Tennant or Baker at top? Okay, then
exactly.
It's and I tend to find where Jodie and Peter tend to be together and further down because of writing.
Well, something interesting Carl just wrote, if someone plays the Doctor long enough, people will forget the bad episodes. It's like at Nostradamus, people only look at the predictions that came close. They ignore all the other stuff. Same with Doctor Who. And it's true, because Tom Baker had some real stinkers in there.
Yeah, exactly.
And everything. But nobody remembers those. Nobody remembers those. If John Pertwee, same thing, because a lot of people remember how great the Master was in that era, how great, the Doctor was, how he was the James Bond Doctor and everything like that. Where, we just watched a real stinker. We watched this one called Planet of the Daleks, and we reviewed it for our podcast. It will be out actually today. And we talk about it, and it basically is a Terry Nation story where they basically redo the very first Dalek story again and everything. So.
But I'm going to say this, and let me elaborate up because we've got to get a commercial break. And we're going to introduce our new sponsor. She's awesome. I think we watched Doctor Who back then because we didn't care too much into the stories. The stories were good. Some of them were just above their time, but we didn't have the tech. We didn't have the tech. We didn't have the CGI and everything to complement what great story and in some cases what great acting. So I think we kind of defaulted to who the Doctor was. We wanted to watch John Pertwee. We didn't care if the sets were wibbly wobbly. We enjoyed Tom Baker because we wanted to see his wit. We wanted to see him talk to Chop Suey, the Galactic Emperor. That was the kind of stuff I think pushed harder with it. But today, the current situation, the current actors, they have CGI. We actually have the tech now that can actually complements the writing that is today that we couldn't do back then. I mean, the talents of Wang Chiang. How often could the homunculus, but if we had that tech today and pulled it back to the talents of Wang Chiang, how much of a better episode could be if the tech actually worked with the story? But that's not to say the storyline was bad or what the acting was bad. It was just that I think we watched it more for the Doctor. That's just my opinion. I always wanted anytime that they went to the bad guy, I'm like, okay, where's the Doctor now? But where's the Doctor? We're going to commercial break. When we return, please continue to stay logged on, tuned in, and we're going to wrap up our discussion with this Radio's Time poll, where we continue and welcome Cindy Kep to the family of sponsors.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
You have more options than ever before when choosing a film, a television or internet series, a book to curl up with, or even a radio show or podcast. Get to know the people who are creating for you. The Hangin' With Web Show, hosted by award-winning author and journalist G.W. Pomacher, is the internet's fastest-growing web talk show series. The Hangin' With Web Show features professional, yet casual, in-depth interviews with creative arts and entertainment pros. Meet the people behind a digital revolution in creating more quality content than ever before in the history of media. Find the Hangin' With Web Show on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, or simply go to www.hanginwithshow.com. That's www.hanginwithshow.com.
And now the legend of the Traveling TARDIS team want to welcome author Cindy Kep to the family of sponsors. Check out her ad, and please, when you get her books and you subscribe to her subscribe to her website, please tell them the legend of the Traveling TARDIS sent you.
Author Cindy Kep is writing on the edge. Books include Remnant in the Stars, The Loudest Actions, Lines of Succession, Mindstorm, Condemned Courier, the Yerushalayim series, and Animal Eye. Find author Cindy Kep at CKOEPP.com today.
And again, for our friends who are listening to the radio show, that is CKOEPP.com, CKOEPP.com. And don't forget to subscribe to a newsletter. And if you become a personal friend of Cindy Kep's, it's awesome because she actually does jokes per day. I kind of consider her the Katie Manning of Facebook, because she does some really, really cool stuff over there. Welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. We're wrapping up our final discussion about the poll, and we're going to try to zap through quickly because we're running out of time here. But we discussed that Matt Smith was in 4th place, Tom Baker in 5th, and William Hartnell in 6th. Now, taking the 7th, 8th, and 9th place in order, Paul McGann, Christopher Eccleston, and John Pertwee. I'll sit back and watch that fireworks storm go.
I can only, the one thing I can see about Paul McGann, aside from the whole conversation of, oh, well, people just kind of found him, he did have that amazing web episode of Night of the Doctor.
True.
Going into the pit. And that was a legitimately great episode despite being 10 minutes. That could have been a full-length episode, and I think people would have eaten it up.
Oh, yeah. There had been talk for a couple of years of them possibly doing a spin-off with him as the Doctor.
I would kill for that.
Yep. So it would have been awesome to see. How many of us cheered when, they had the special and he says, I need to get a doctor. He says, I'm a doctor, but maybe not the one you were expecting. Everyone was just
that's still running. That
I know.
That gag is still running in places. But it's some people argue that 10 minutes of Doctor Who is better than some full-length episodes that are out there.
I'd agree with that.
Agreed.
In fact, that's probably one of the reasons why he's above Eccleston, because nothing against Christopher Eccleston, but he inherited the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really,
but he also made Doctor Who his own. He brought it to modern times. And there's one or two stinkers in his run, but overall I thought a lot of it was pure brilliance, and it was awesome. And I'm actually surprised he's this low on the list, especially with him now making the return to the con scene and everything too.
And now we're waiting for Big Finish.
Exactly, and it's going to happen. It's happening. So, I have pre-ordered my Chris Eccleston series. So it should be awesome.
I'm really surprised he's above McGann. Like I said, he inherited the cheese. He did amazing things. I'm not taking anything away from him, but from the tone of the series grew so much after he left, and that's just as much the timing as it was anything else. It wasn't him. But if you look at David Tennant and Christopher Eccleston, no matter how good Eccleston will be, he's going to be overshadowed.
But Tennant, yeah, of course. Well, also Tennant had 3 years and 3 specials, where Eccleston just had 1 season.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, without a doubt.
Because Eccleston came in as the first chiming in starting out New Who. It's just like any other type of series, I would imagine, on BBC, whether it's in the US being produced or in Canada or in the UK. Anybody who's doing the production to it, like the BBC, you're not going to have a lot of faith in your first series or your first season, no matter what. So the writing is going to be on a leash, the budget's on a leash, everything's on a damn leash, and Lord knows how many pages and pages and pages of notes they did have, or if they didn't really have much confidence in something, maybe they didn't have a lot of notes and didn't have a lot of help. So with Tennant series, because now we're like, oh, we have merchandising, we have licensing rights, we have look at the ratings, and now we can actually sell this to other countries, and here we go. You can see budget.
That was the big thing. Truthfully, is that with Eccleston, he was mostly shown both live in the UK and in Canada. That was it. There was massive delays for anywhere else in the world. I think the US was at least 6 months to almost a year behind.
Hell, he was on PBS for a while.
Right.
Seriously, his series was on our PBS station.
And then when they showed them, they were all edited down, especially when they were shown on Sci-Fi or Sci-Fi as it's called now. But it's basically, it's just interesting to see that he was that kind of doctor, and he established it, and it was brilliant. He was the war-torn veteran. Yes. He was the man who survived the war, and he played it perfectly.
And as much as he's low on the poll, I have to give him so much value and credence to what William Hartnell did. He was the first Doctor, but the first regeneration that finally came in is Patrick Troughton, which these two I have to give a testament to, because we wouldn't have Doctor Who today at all if they didn't, believe in William, and they didn't believe in Patrick to replace him. Christopher coming back, and you mentioned, Dave, about the cheese. I think if you really look carefully, for me, he not only embraced the cheese, he made it better. He molded it. He went from Swiss to Gouda. It was so much better.
Great, but I can see by a comparison of content why he would be where he is on that poll.
Right. There's only so much you can do with fighting aliens anyway, so
that's where he is.
Right, and I just you got to give the man credence, and you got to give the man credit. He brought it back, and we would not have Jodie Whittaker unless we had Christopher Eccleston,
100%,
and people believing in him. And even though he had a bad run and a bad rap of what happened, I will always thank him. If I ever see him in person, I thank you for bringing my childhood dream back. We were running real low on time, so I'm going to get to the last 5 in here. John Pertwee takes 9th place. Patrick Troughton takes 10th. Sylvester McCoy takes 11th. And for the first time, at least this is the first poll I've seen, Colin Baker actually edges up by 8 votes on top of Peter Davison and is no longer the last place Doctor. And I'm actually happy about that. Not that Peter Davison had to take the bottom, but I was tired of seeing Colin Baker on the bottom, especially with Big Finish. That really gave him his due. We got a few minutes left of the episode, folks, so if anybody wants to give us a little bit of a wrap-up, go for it on what you think about this poll, and especially on these 5.
My only thing with Patrick, I went to see Power of the Daleks when it was released in the theater. They did put that animated version out. Yes. And I saw people walking out.
You're kidding.
No, because they expected New Who speed.
Oh,
I think they walked into that expecting a New Who experience, not a 1960s speed. Because there's a very back then, right?
No, I agree completely with that.
Yeah.
I think my issue, because I went to the theater, I saw that, and I did see a lot of, and I was not happy with it. I was, and I think Troughton's at 10 and not in 13 because of more people seeing, because they're doing the animated ones a lot more. So you're going to have a lot more people that's going to be on the radar. I was not happy with the speed of it. I agree with that, but I think a lot of that had to do with the animation, and that the animation did not block well. They had the style. If you've never seen the animation or any of these the reanimated versions of or what the hell we're even talking about. Quick note: they found the audio to a lot of these things. They don't have much great visual of Troughton and everybody on performing it, so they animated it. If you want to know what the animation style looks like, think Archer, where it's very much something very vector, very Adobe Illustrator, very high and tight, very, very precise looking. However, it's animated in a way that looks like it's C Lab 2020, where they're just kind of like stuck, almost like paper figures that have very minimal movement. And that was the part where it kind of made me go, wait, you've seen shows like Archer where you could take that high vector style and really have some movement to these characters in a 60s style with the 60s, or that style pacing of vocal, everything. They didn't edit it. So there is clearly some blocking that's going on. There's some maybe depth that the actors are using, maybe micro expressions and stuff, and the animation doesn't show that. And I remember sitting in the theater going, are you kidding? Did no director look at this and go, okay, well, in the audio there's nothing going on, so I guess they just walked out?
Well, I want to say this, and this is not, I'm not downing Doctor Who in its current form, or I should say its previous form, and then we're going to wrap up over here. When I grew up Doctor Who, and I'm going to address this to Mike more, I fell asleep watching Doctor Who. I mean, when I talk about classic episodes, when I'm talking about the classics, it was not beyond me, because that was just the pacing. It was slow. They were trying to fill in things, whereas today they've got so much, now they got to cut out things or make it to a 2-part, or in some cases 3-part episode. But back then they had to fill in the gaps to get to the cliffhanger, and they had to. And I was known to fall, even with Tom Baker. That's not to say that the episode was bad. It was just the pacing. So when you're bringing in a new audience who's used to those 45-minute go, 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 and then bring them back and they have to watch a classic cartoon episode with that kind of pacing, it just doesn't gel into the new world. It just doesn't.
It's a different series than it was 50 years ago.
Right.
Basically. And like we just said earlier, we just reviewed Power of the Planet of the Daleks, and that was a 6-month 6-episode series, which could have easily been 2.
Right.
They just put in so much filler, and it's just amazing what you had to do. And it's funny because when my wife started watching old series with me, because I introduced her to the new series, because I had been watching it since I was a kid. But she, she said, "What is it? Just like the old or the new stuff?" I said, "No. Think British dramas. Think Upstairs, Downstairs. Think that type of stuff, or EastEnders or stuff. Think of that in space." And she was like, "Got it," and she enjoyed it and everything.
Yeah, if you're going to walk on the terms of what Doctor Who and all that British drama was back then it works. But if you're expecting to have a nonstop action pace, what we got today, it's just not going to work. You're really going to have to set back. And I saw it in the theaters, and I was kind of slightly bored, but I understood it. So I started going through the mud, and I was like, I'm fine with that. It's just that, for a newer audience who is not used to that, it does fall to the wayside. And especially with the animation and everything, and they're listening to audio that was just found, it is kind of hard. It's not a theater experience. It's something that you have to go home, sit, enjoy, pause, and try to appreciate. But I do appreciate they even tried to put it in theater, so can't complain there. So, folks, we are at the end of the episode. Do we have any wrap-up things about the poll, or anybody want to have any last-minute discussions? Again, Phantasmagoria will be premiering October 27th for their live performance here at the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, and we're going to have an entire month of Halloween horror stuff going on from every episode throughout the month of October. So be ready for that. We're going to have a Monster Mash game, and we're going to have a question, a special episode. Doctor, do you believe in ghosts? Where we actually go into the Hooniverse to see if you can convince the Doctor that he should or she should believe in ghosts or not. So thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, I'm giving you the last chance before we go. Again, Cindy Kep, thank you for joining us on the sponsorship channel. We appreciate that. And we appreciate all of our folks who sponsor us here on this channel, because we can't do this without you, and including Geek Insider, we can't do the live feed without you there. So anybody last minute before we go? Because I'm
poll.
What's that?
We should have our own poll. I think we should put out our own poll to see what our 37,000 Facebook followers think and where they would rank the Doctor. And by the way, if I have any say in this, yes, the War Doctor will be there, and so will Peter Cushing.
I was
That's who. Yes. So that's it. That's my.
Yeah, you're all done.
She's done. She's out of there.
Done. Well, folks, thank you. We're going to save the after party for another episode. Thank you so much, everybody. Please stay safe. Please stay logged on, tuned in. Wash your hands, and become part of the legend. Everybody, say bye.
Peace.
Bye.